When you run into a roadblock in your life, it's very important to learn how to pivot. And pivoting is an important practice to get better at and to later perfect in life, okay? So for example, you run into a roadblock at work, or you run into a roadblock at home, or you run into a roadblock with your family, or you run into a roadblock with yourself, right? It's very important to learn how to pivot in order to accomplish the goal that you set out for yourself in that specific area. So this has happened to me numerous times in my life where I ran up against a tough situation or a roadblock. For example, when I was trying to move to Japan in my early 20s, I remember that I had no money, right? And it was difficult to get over to Japan. I was living in California. How the heck do you fly over? How the heck do you just sustain yourself if you don't have money? I was just graduating from college, and I couldn't figure out how to get myself over there to my dream, which was to train martial arts with all of these masters that I'd always dreamed of training with. So I didn't know until many years later, decades later actually, about what I was trying to accomplish would have been a lot easier if I had known how to pivot in this situation. It took me years and years and years to start to realize how to pivot. So let's talk about this a little bit. I divided these pivots into 3 parts. And there are 3 parts that can help you when you run into a roadblock in deciding and dealing with this difficult situation in your life. So the first pivot is called PAP, and that's pivot to another pillar. So in Mugen Mindset, we divide the life aspects into 5 pillars of core life enrichment. So let's talk about those. 1, you have spouse, then you have family, friends, then you have work, career, then you have society, community, and then you have self. So in this case, I was working on self, right? And I was working on work, career, which had to do with, for me, was teaching martial arts at the time. I wanted to grow my knowledge as a teacher. I also wanted to fight and compete in mixed martial arts in Japan. And so it's very important to me to move over to Japan at this time, but I had no money, okay? The first part of pivoting we call PAP, which is pivot to another pillar, okay? Pivot to another pillar is you stop everything. You stop focusing on this difficult situation. In my case, was moving to Japan, and you focus on a whole nother pillar. So what would be another pillar? Well, you've got 5 to choose from. You might focus on family, friends. So all of a sudden, you start focusing on redevelopment of your friend relationships, redevelopment of your family relationships. And in my case, when I PAP'd this situation, without even knowing in my 20s, I had actually refocused on a situation of redeveloping a relationship with a mentor and friend of mine that I had had since I was 15 years old in martial arts. His name's Senpai Martin. Senpai Martin had called me up and he had said, hey, how come you're not fulfilling your dream and moving to Japan? At that point, I was stuck at a bank working on loans and a financial institution called Wells Fargo Financial, Norris Financial. If you remember those back in the day, they got shut down for doing all these crazy loans. Well, I was a part of that. I was working for them and doing exactly what I didn't want to do with my life. But when Senpai Martin asked me, he said, how come you're not moving to Japan? I realized something clicked. Oh my gosh, I need to rekindle and redevelop these relationships with all of my friends from martial arts, all of my friends that had moved to Japan, all of my friends that had come back from there. I had to rekindle the relationship of when I had competed in Japan, when I had competed there when I was 18 years old, all my senseis, all my senpais, all these people that were in my life that had helped to cultivate my dream of moving to Japan. So as I recultivated those relationships, I started to see the opportunities. Senpai Martin told me, hey, did you apply for this program? This program is an English teaching program where you could move to Japan and they'll pay you to. They'll pay for your flight, they'll pay for your accommodations, they'll send you a salary every month. So it turned out to be the right path. So when I PAP'd myself, I pivoted to another pillar. So for example, instead of focusing on work, career, oh man, I can't move to Japan, focusing on myself, my dream is to move to Japan, why am I not moving to Japan? And I PAP'd myself, I pivoted to another pillar. Well, now I was focusing on friendships, to redeveloping, rekindling those relationships. And that led to me actually getting with the JET program from Senpai Martin's recommendation, applying and actually being accepted, and moving to Japan and accomplishing my goal. So PAP is a really, really important one. The last 2 are equally important, and they are the second one is going to be PCP, which is pivot to change your perspective. And that's where you stop everything and you go to a unique location and you rethink your desires and wants for this pillar, which in our case right now we're talking about my situation, which is I wanted to go to Japan. That happened to me too, because after I had talked to Senpai Martin, I went to the beach. I spent the whole day there. I wrote, there's a whole series of formula to getting this done. I wrote all of my desires about moving to Japan, all of the reasons I wanted to move to Japan. And this all has to do with PCP, which is not the drug, which is pivot to change your perspective. You need to go to a location, a unique location that you don't go to or you haven't been to in the last 5 months. And you need to really reflect and think about what it is the reason that you're having to pivot here and why it is that you're not able to accomplish this and what is your purpose and meaning and want and care for accomplishing this situation. And that's PCP. And then the last one is PWP, and that's where you pivot within a pillar, okay? So that's where, let's say I couldn't move to Japan and I couldn't get the job with the JET program, and I had PCP'd myself already and I PAP'd myself already, but now I need to pivot within the pillar. I need to change my what my desires are within that pillar. So in this case, for example, it actually happened to me years later. I was living in Japan and I realized my dream wasn't to live in Japan for the rest of my life. My dream was to stay in Japan. I stayed there for 3 years, fighting, competing in mixed martial arts, but I thought I wanted to live there forever. So now I PWP'd within the pillar, meaning I pivoted within the pillar. And what happened to me then was I ended up moving to Brazil and accomplishing a lot of my dreams there, which was to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to become a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, to compete there. And so again, this third part of pivoting is called PWP, pivot within the pillar. And to find out more, guys, just email mugenmindset@gmail.com. I can send you a whole list. We got a cool way of pivoting, and there's a lot of really cool aspects to that that I wasn't able to discuss today. But if you stick to the main part is when you run into a roadblock in life, think about pivoting and think about the 3 ways of pivoting for you, okay? And remember, you deserve more.